Even with the ceasefire, the Kurds are fighting not only a military battle for survival, but facing diplomatic and economic isolation. They lost 50% of their oil revenues when Kirkuk fell, and Iraq and Turkey are discussing an oil pipeline that would bypass Kurdistan and further isolate the Kurds. One of the few countries to stand with the Kurds has been Israel. CBN News learned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is calling world leaders to stand with the Kurds. And Israel's intelligence minister said the Kurds must be protected from extermination. Some experts believe how the U.S., the world superpower, responds in the next few days and weeks may well determine in part the future of the Kurdish people and the Middle East. To understand more about the situation, here's more of our interview with Middle East expert Jonathan Spire. We have a map here, Jonathan, that shows a couple of things. First of all, this line this line right here is the outline, I believe, of the Kurdish regional government from 2003.
Yep, that's right.
And what's this area right here?
So these areas south, so to speak, of the line in purple are the areas which the Kurds moved into in the course of the war against ISIS. ISIS obviously moved in to Iraq from Syria, eastwards from Syria, in the summer of 2014, that very dramatic summer. And in the course of the Kurdish military response to that, so to speak, the Kurds moved into and conquered over the subsequent 2 or 3 years a large amount of territory. And that's what's represented here in purple, south, so to speak, of the line here.
Okay, so this land, if I understand it correctly, was in dispute.
Yeah.
The Kurds claimed it, but so did the Iraqi government.
Yes, that's correct.
But what has happened with this border right now?
So effectively what's taken place, and it's not yet complete, but the process taking place is that the Iraqi government, in effect, is rolling up all these areas, is pushing the Kurds back to the 2003 lines. We talked about Kirkuk earlier on. Kirkuk has gone. Much of this area further to the west has gone also. The Iraqi army and the Shia militias are effectively rolling back the Kurds to the 2003 line.
Now, have they gone beyond the 2003
Yeah, they
line?
already have, actually. In the west, they're already a little bit beyond the 2003 lines. They're into Sinjar and they're pushing further, and there are serious questions about the forces engaged. Many of my contacts in Iraq and in Iraqi Kurdistan have been saying, okay, we get the fact that the Iraqi army probably just want to push us back to the 2003 lines. But what's the agenda of the militias who are supported by Iran? Does the Iraqi government actually control these militias, or are they controlled directly from Tehran? Maybe the militias, therefore, with their momentum moving forward, will simply want to carry on moving forward, in which case the potential for very serious military clashes, even inside the pre-2003 Iraqi Kurdistan, is very real.
So their agenda might be just to continue taking over Iraqi Kurdistan?
Until someone stops them. Yes, that's right. It's possible. We don't quite know. And the militias and the Iranians like to keep us guessing, of course, until things become very clear at a moment of their choosing. So we're going to find out.
Now, is Erbil the capital of Kurdistan? Is that in danger?
Well, here's the thing. The Iraqis have been pushing northwest from Kirkuk city, and they're currently located about halfway between Kirkuk and Erbil. There was a town called Altun Kubri which fell over the weekend. That's the point, and the Iraqis are now a couple of kilometers north of Altun Kubri, and that's the furthest north they've gone so far. Right now, the Iraqis are still inside Kirkuk province, the border between Kirkuk and Erbil province, about halfway between the two cities. If the push forward continues, the Iraqis are currently around 40 kilometers from east of Erbil. If the push forward continues, then no one should rule out the possibility of a move towards Erbil itself. Right now, though, it's not possible to predict that, and I would have thought that from the Iraqi government's point of view, especially given its very good relations with the United States, which have been demonstrated in recent days, it would probably be a mistake to push towards Erbil. That would, of course, be against the Americans' wishes. The Americans don't want to see the KRG destroyed militarily. So probably not, but one shouldn't rule out the possibility of a push towards Erbil. Like I said, they're around 40 kilometers from there now.
What can the U.S. or the West do to help support the Iraqi Kurds right now?
Well, a great deal could be done, but the general sense is that the United States is not currently in the mood to support the Iraqi Kurds. I think there was clearly a great deal of annoyance with regard to the Kurds choosing to go ahead with the referendum. As it turns out now, the Americans have chosen to get very firmly behind the government in Baghdad. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was in Riyadh yesterday alongside Prime Minister Abadi for the inaugural meeting of a new thing called the Saudi-Iraqi Cooperation Council. The sense is the Americans are looking in a different direction entirely, not towards backing their staunch allies in Iraqi Kurdistan, but rather trying to offset Iranian influence in Iraq itself by pushing or pulling the Baghdad government closer to the Saudis. That's what I think they think they're going to do. I personally don't think it's going to work. But sadly, from my point of view at least, the notion of increased American support for the Iraqi Kurds right now, I'm afraid it's just not on the agenda. That's not where the thinking seems to be.